99.3 Nigeria. A very lovely morning to you once again. Welcome back to the morning Crossfire studio, away from the sports studio. You're still on. I'm Sheriff Quadry. Welcome to the Front Pages. This is where we bring you headlines from national dailies, all the big stories that are made it through to the front pages of national dailies this morning. I have the Guardian here right in front of me. The Nigerian Express is also here. The Blueprint newspaper is here. The Punch as well. The Vanguard, This Day newspaper, Daily Independent, Daily Sun, The Nation, and Daily Trust. Those are the papers that we'll be working with this morning from the front pages. Remember that you can always tune in live to see us on our Facebook and Twitter streaming platforms. Not forgetting YouTube as well. On Facebook, we are Nigeria Info FM. And on YouTube, you can just subscribe to our YouTube channel, Nigeria Info 99.3, to view us live and drop your comments as well on those platforms. Our WhatsApp portal is also up and active. The WhatsApp line is 0809 597 5805. That is 0809 597 5805. That's the WhatsApp portal. Let's start this morning with the Punch newspaper. That's right. Yes. Faction emerges in ASU. Lecturers attack varsity heads. Will ensure stable academic calendar. Splinter group. FG has no hand in ASU faction, says Education Ministry. That's the Punch newspaper. From the Vanguard newspaper, ASU split as new academic union emerges. We are not threatened, says ASU Vanguard, with that particular headline. You can find this story also on the front page of Daily Independent newspaper. Parallel academic staff union emerges in universities. Daily Independent with that particular one. Daily Sun newspaper this morning. ASU splits, new union emerges. Rider, we are not bothered, says ASU president. Daily Sun newspaper. From the Nation newspaper, breakaway ASU faction seeks registration. 5 varsities team up. The Nation with that particular headline. Rotimi, we're here now.
Okay, this is one of those headlines that you see and you start to shake your head. So let us really ask some important questions.
Right.
Are there really in this country any serious university lecturers that are happy with the underfunding of Nigerian universities?
They said they don't want the break in academic calendar, that it's not going to happen again.
So the break in academic calendar is their major concern. They are not concerned about the half-baked graduates.
Right.
They are not concerned about universities that don't have library, that don't have laboratory, that don't have practical equipment, that cannot turn out graduates that can compete. No serious person also wants a break in academic calendar.
Right.
But when you weigh the balance, is the ASU leadership, all those intellectuals in ASU, do they just wake up one morning and decide that they want break in academic calendar, and on the basis of that, they are asking the federal government to adhere to an agreement that the federal government signed? It's always important to have historical memory. ASU said the universities are underfunded, and it is true. ASU estimated how much it will take to fix the Nigerian universities. Nigerian government said that the estimates were too high. They set up joint committee. The committee found that the amount that ASU was estimating was too low.
Right.
On that basis, amounts were agreed and signed by the federal government that they will use that money to revamp universities. Let's not forget that the biggest resource of any country is not oil or gas. It's the human capital.
The human capital.
It's
definitely.
the investment in the education of its citizens, and especially the investment in the youth. By 2030, by 2050, Nigeria's population would have doubled from the current estimated 200 million to over 400 million. In the circumstances we have today, if the universities continue to be underfunded, by that 2050, the real threat that many youth that are unequipped to compete in the modern world would have turned to all kinds of nefarious activities is very high.
Right.
So, the idea that some group in the Nigerian university, you will say that they are lecturers. And by the way, that name that they have chosen, the acronym, CONA, CONWA.
Conference of Nigerian University
people,
Academics.
Honestly, some people will start wondering what kind of CONA, arrangement is. Last week we were talking of Association for Better Nigeria.
Right. Just last week.
Just last week. And the youth earnestly yearning for Abacha. That under the military regime came out to tell us that they were doing a 1 million man march to adopt Abacha for president. The Abacha loot is still being recovered. How many years after?
So this definitely to you is ill-advised.
It's not just ill-advised now. Look, my informed opinion, my very, very educated opinion, is not just that this is ill-advised. This is underhand. It is seriously underhand.
By who? Who do you think is involved in this?
Well,
they have the right to form any labor center according to the labor laws.
Yes, but not a center that undermines your own profession.
Well, they are not saying that it's going to undermine their profession.
Oh,
They're
no,
saying
but
that they want uninterrupted
But look, I understand.
calendar year.
I understand you have to ask the questions. But
these are valid questions.
anybody that has read the political scene in Nigeria over the at least last 30 years or 35 years, and really, roughly for that period, I've been working as a journalist, a researcher, interacting with ASU, and a whole lot of people. And look, there are members of ASU that are not always entirely happy with ASU. That happens in any trade union or professional association. There is no doubt about it. But for some people to claim, just look at the rationale. They are interested in uninterrupted academic year. Whose talking point is that? Whose talking point is that? When people start adopting talking points of anti-ASU people, and who asked the education minister to deny? Those people put out their statement. Education minister issues a statement. We are not behind. Who asked him?
Interesting, really. Interesting. Let's quickly move on because of
the investment needs to be made in the universities. There is no running away from it.
Maybe that is why they formed this. Maybe they are seeing that.
Look at the number of youth that are going to Ghana to get education.
Right.
They are not going to Ghana because of the disruption in academic. They are going there because the Ghanaian universities and all the other universities globally are now offering better quality education.
Indeed. Perhaps that will form one of their major,
every other week you will see, 600 billion to be used for this, 600 billion to be used for that. If that money went into the Nigerian universities, within 1 decade, the Nigerian economy will be permanently transformed. What does China have over Nigeria? What does Singapore have over Nigeria?
Rotimi, I get that everybody should be passionate about
this. It's education.
But we need to move on really very quickly. Let's move on to our next story from The Guardian. Our partners on this particular show. Bandits released 15 more kidnapped victims in Katsina. That's from the Guardian front page newspaper, just below the name plate on security and bandits story. From the Blueprints newspaper, you have it. Similar headline: Katsina bandits release 15 more victims. From the Blueprint newspaper. From Daily Trust newspaper this morning, abductors of Kaduna college girls want 10 million naira from each parent. That's from Daily Trust newspaper this Monday morning. Moving on now to Daily Sun. Insurgents ambush, kill 11 soldiers. Military intelligence overwhelmed by security challenges, says Bakari. That's from the Daily Sun newspaper. If you'd like to read more, pick it up. Security headlines. Daily Independent newspaper. Nigeria Air Force kills 10 bandits in Kaduna. That's from Daily Independent newspaper. Similar headline from this day: we are discussing with bandits to end violence in Northwest, says Masari. Riders to meet Maradi government. Umaru. Nigerian security officials meet outlaws leaders tomorrow. Nigerian security officials meet outlaws leaders tomorrow. Fayemi calls for multiple approaches to security, law enforcement, reform of police. That's a big headline just below the nameplate this day newspaper. If you like to read, you can pick up the paper and read further. It appears that a lot about security actually made it to the front page of newspapers this morning, Rotimi, especially the bandit stories.
Well,
it appears also that dialogue between the government of Katsina and bandits is working.
Look, we all want the security agencies to succeed in their job. Because if the security agencies succeed in their job, Nigeria will be safer for everybody. However, the solution to insecurity is not for state governments to start negotiating with bandits. Negotiating with bandits does not change the social determinants of banditry, which is poverty, unemployment, semi-failed states. Those are the social determinants of banditry on an industrial scale.
Right.
And negotiating with bandits does not change any of those things. The state governments have a serious obligation, along with the federal government, to make the investment. I mean, this ties back to the ASU thing. To make the investment in education at primary, secondary, and university level. If you look at the percentage of people that don't have access to education, especially in the Northwest and the Northeast, it is horrendous. It's a massive failure of those state governments to make the necessary investment. And not just in education, in healthcare, in housing, in social infrastructure, in governance, in all those Zamfara, Katsina. Look, you will drive 200 or 300 miles, you will not see a sign of government.
Right.
The UNDP, the United Nations Development Program, put out a fantastic report last year on the causes of all this. The NFIU, in the report where it called for local government autonomy,
right,
and financing, underlined it that the bleeding of local government funds is one of the driving forces of banditry and extremism. The answers are in front of us. They are negotiating with bandits.
Yes, they are.
They are negotiating with the pot-bellied bandits that have made their money. Okay, those ones may say, okay, truce. They allow them to launder the money and continue as usual. There will be other younger ones that are also victims of poverty, underdevelopment, and poor governance. They will look up, see the big belly bandits, and say, if those ones got away with it, why can't they? And there are many more than the older bandits.
So some people have criticized this negotiation tactic, by the way. They're saying that if it were from other parts of the country, you would have had operation, this operation, that. And meanwhile, there is Operation Hadarandaji.
No, I don't want
by
to,
the military.
I don't want to bring in ethnic coloration to the thing.
Right, but it's one federal government.
I understand what those people are pointing out, that in the southeast especially, and in some places in the southwest and south,
right,
that any sign of anything that looks as if they want to protest, call for this or call for that, that battalions of soldiers will be sent to the place. Yes, that double standard is clear. But that's not where we are going now this morning. What we should be emphasizing is that the negotiation with the bandits does not in any way end the social determinants of banditry. It doesn't. And it is those social determinants that need to be addressed. Right. Sociology is clear. Anywhere you have high levels of uneducated people, very high unemployment, very high poverty, very high population growth, the demographic is youth-centered, there is poor governance, the states are almost failed, the bandits will take over and fill the space.
Right.
And that's what needs to be addressed.
Let's quickly move on to our next headline this morning. We'll start with Daily Independent now. No political office is for any ethnic group. Pastor Bakari speaking. Writer reveals vision of new Nigeria built on restructuring. Daily Independent is the paper if you like to read more. From Daily Sun newspaper, it's about the presidency this morning. 2023 presidency should be zoned to Southeast. This is according to the CLO, the Civil Liberties Organization. Another banner headline from the Daily Sun: Forces plot VP Oshibajo's exit. Rider more on his treatment. Daily Sun with that particular headline this morning. Moving on now swiftly, let's pick up our next paper, which is the Nigerian Express 2023. I have secret to Igbo presidency. Mbazulike Amechi. That's Daily Express, the Nigerian Express, with that particular headline. Moving on to the Vanguard newspaper this morning. Adeboye to Oshibajo, don't be fazed by gang ups against you. That's Vanguard newspaper this morning. That conversation is actually gaining some momentum. The Punch newspaper: no ethnic group has monopoly to rule Nigeria. Bakari. There you go. It's about 2023. It's about the presidency.
Well, look, it's true that no ethnic group has the monopoly to rule anywhere. I mean, without any doubt. And indeed, it should not be so. So,
no one has claimed so. Nobody has.
Well, sometimes perception is as important as reality. When the then General Obasanjo was handing over to the Shagari regime in 78, 79, a lot of people felt that Dr. Alex Ekweme, as Shagari's vice president, was an impressive step that in less than a decade after the end of the Civil War, Nigeria had a vice president from the southeast. A lot of people thought it was impressive. I mean, let's set aside for a moment the known issues with the Shagari government. Massive corruption and incompetence paved way for the Buhari Idi coup. But regardless, a lot of people felt, and if anybody saw the devastation in the southeast, and I went to school in the southeast just after the Civil War, and the devastation was incredible. Incredible. So it's not a phantom issue that the southeast, in many ways feels excluded, with the exception of the Ekweme vice presidency. So a southeast or Igbo presidency will go some way to, in quotes, mending that bridge. However, it is not a guarantee that because somebody is of a certain ethnicity and becomes president, that the person is going to be able to deliver on what Nigeria really needs now, of which education is one of them, electricity is another obvious one, healthcare is another glaring one, road infrastructure, I mean, we see it every day, housing deficit, I mean,
massive,
almost 20 million. I mean, should we go on and on? We don't have enough time. How does somebody from a specific ethnicity becoming president solve that problem if the person is not competent? So that's where that argument, can the Southeast produce a competent president? Yes, it's possible. It's possible. But when Jonathan was president, did he lead to the massive development of the South-South? No. When Obasanjo was president, did it transform the entire Southwest? No. I mean, Southwest historically is developed anyway.
Right.
Especially Lagos. Buhari is the current president. Has it led to a massive transformation of the Northwest? The negotiation of the governor in Katsina State with bandits tells us no. So, I mean, we need not emphasize on the wrong things because we want to redress a wrong.
Is it a really wrong thing, though? Because that's part of our fault lines. And a lot of people are actually taking advantage of these fault lines to make political statements.
Well, the exclusion of the Igbo is real. It's not a made-up matter.
Right.
The South is largely excluded from Nigerian elite politics. And it trickles down to how young Igbo people feel. There is no doubt about it.
Before we go, Rotimi, let's take a look at this headline from Vanguard front page. Why we oppose return of toll gates. Labour. It comes with a rider. Government must reduce price of fuel first. ULC. Nigerians should resist plans to tax GSM calls. NECA calls for caution. Efficiency policy.
There's a lot to unpack. Try to unpack in 30 seconds. Let me just make sort of general comments. I always think that any government in power or any party in power needs a small team of strategists.
Right.
That are not afraid to speak with the president or the governor or whoever it may be, regardless of the party, to say, Mr. President, Madam President, or Madam Governor, Mr. Governor, whoever it is, that policy proposal or that plan is not an entirely good plan and may cause more problems than some people think it will fix. I mean, it is reasonably...
We should have more bold people in government.
Yes, because, okay, so look, Labour is now saying that the October 15 deadline for strike if minimum wage is not implemented, in fact, they're saying that there will be no warning strike.
Right.
Look, why didn't Gige have to come out and provoke the matter by saying that implementation of the 30,000 minimum wage will lead to sack of workers? It is unnecessary.
We really have to go. We have to go. I can see your comments here on Facebook and WhatsApp. We can't take any comment right now because loads of headlines. Seriously, it's Monday. So it was expected that we will have, loads of interesting headlines. Let's go on a break. When we return, it's time for our discussion today. We are discussing World Teachers Day. It's going to be an amazing conversation. Join us again. Rotimi Sankore has joined us on the front pages. He'll be here. Join the conversation at 8 o'clock as well. I am Sheriff Quadry. We will be right back in a moment. Stay here.
More news and information coming up. We'll be back in a moment.